Sangha. Because the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha are like a person with perfect eyesight, while we, the Buddhist followers, are like blind people. We cannot see the path that will take us to enlightenment. So we must first develop the faith in the Buddha, in the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Faith here is not blind faith. Faith here means to believe in his teaching and then follow his teaching, so we can prove it to ourselves that what the Buddha have seen, have experienced, is something that we all can also see and experience. And we can prove that the Buddha was real, his teaching was real, and his noble disciples, the Sanghas, are real. If we don't have faith in the Buddha, in the Dhamma teaching, in the Sangha, then we will not follow their teaching. We will not follow the Buddha's teaching. We will not follow the Sangha's teaching, because we don't believe. So when we don't follow the Buddha's teaching, the Sangha's teaching, then we cannot prove it for ourselves, whether his teaching, their teaching, are real or not, will bring the result that they have claimed or not. So this is the kind of faith we need to have. We need to have the faith to put ourselves to the test, take up the challenge. The Buddha said he had become enlightened. He had eliminated all forms of mental suffering, such as stress, depression, anxiety, worry, fear. If we want to eliminate this mental suffering, we must follow his teaching, follow his example, how he practiced to achieve this goal. This is what we have to have if we want to prove whether the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha are real or not, or whether it's just a fairy tale story told by people a long time ago just to lure us to do good without getting any result. So this is very important. To have faith in the Buddha is to believe that the Buddha was a self-enlightened person. Before he was like us, he was blind to the truth that caused his suffering. And he was blind to the truth that eliminated the suffering. But after he put in the effort, he searched, he practiced, and eventually came up with the truth. The truth that he came up with is the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering, or dukkha, the truth of the cause of suffering, of samudaya, the cessation of suffering, nirodha, and the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, or magga. The Buddha had discovered this truth that was inside his mind, and inside the mind of every being, like you and me. The difference between the Buddha and us is, the Buddha saw this truth. We haven't yet seen this truth. So this is what we want to do. We want to find and discover this truth inside ourselves, inside our mind. And in order to be able to see this truth, we have to follow the example of the Lord Buddha, of following his teaching. He taught us to abandon everything, because everything that we have, that we possess, they are hindrances to our self-awakening, to our enlightenment. So if we want to become enlightened, we have to eventually, sooner or later, give up our possession and our way of life, because they do not lead us to enlightenment, but they lead us to more delusion, more rounds of rebirth, more suffering, more depression, more stress, more worry, more anxiety. So this is the faith that we have to establish, that the Buddha was like us before he became enlightened. He lived like us. He had possession. He lived like a prince, having all the trappings of a prince, all the happiness of a prince. But this happiness could not eliminate the stress, the depression, the mental suffering in his mind and heart. So he decided to give up. After realizing that he will get old, he will get sick and die. And when this thing happened, he cannot find any happiness. Because in order to find happiness the way that he used to, he need a healthy body, not a sick body, not an old body. And he had to be alive. But eventually no one could escape death. Once that happened, all the happiness that we find through the body will no longer be available. So with this insight to the impermanent nature of the body, drove the Buddha to go seek a new refuge. He knew that the body was not the permanent refuge. So he wanted to find a permanent refuge where he can be truly happy all the time. And he knew that by living the way he used to live, he would never be able to find this new refuge. So he followed the path of other people who gave up their worldly life, their possession, and go seek solitude, go seek refuge in the practice of meditation. So that's what the Buddha did. He finally, after many years of reflection, he decided that he had to leave the palace life. And it happened on the night when he heard the news that his wife gave birth to his son. He uttered the word bondage or bond. He referred to his son as a bondage. If he remained with his son, he will not be able to go and meditate. So he decided on that night, in the middle of the night, to leave the palace without telling anybody, because he knew that if he told anyone, they would not let him leave. So that's what the Buddha did, in order for him to be free of the mundane life, so he could go seek the spiritual life, where he thought would provide him with a permanent refuge. And that's what he did. He practiced for about 6 years, meditation practice for 6 years, under the guidance of 2 renowned teachers, who could only guide him to the level of jhana. The level of jhana can help you eliminate your stress, your suffering, but only temporarily. When you're in jhana, all your stress and suffering will disappear. But after you withdraw from your jhana, your stress, your worry, your anxiety, your fear will return. So the Buddha couldn't find anybody else to teach him how to permanently eliminate distress. So he had to look by himself. And eventually he found a path that lead him to this permanent refuge. And he called this path Magga, which is part of the 4 Noble Truths. First, he discovered the truth of suffering. His mind is constantly suffering with all different kind of suffering, such as stress, depression, sadness, loneliness, fear. And after practicing, meditating and reflecting, contemplating, he eventually discovered that the cause of his suffering is the 3 desires. The 3 desires are the desire for happiness through the using the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body to experience the sight, sound, smell, taste, and tactile objects. This kind of desire will lead your mind to become restless. Once you have this desire, you cannot remain peaceful and at ease. Like when you have the desire to go to a party, go to a movie, go to do something, and you cannot go, for instance, if you are sick or you are somehow restrained from going, you will feel terrible inside. But if you could go, you will only experience a brief period of happiness. When you come back home, you will feel like before you left home. You will feel lonely and you feel like you want to go out again. So, if you keep obeying your desire, do what your desire asks you to do, you do not eliminate your desire and the consequence suffering that follow. The only way to eliminate your suffering is to stop your desire. And the tools that the Buddha discovered that you can use to stop your desire is called the magga, or the path. The path, the Buddha expanded into 8 factors, or sometimes he condensed them down to 3 factors. The 3 factors that he normally taught to lay people is dana, sila, and samadhi, and panya, or it should be pavana. Pavana consists of samadhi and panya. When he teaches to the monk, he would expound the sila, samadhi, and panya, which is similar to sila and pavana. The reason why he didn't instruct the monk on dana, that's because the monks had already given up all their possession. There's nothing else to give. So he skipped that dana part and teach the monk the sila and pavana part. Sila is to maintain the 8 precepts, and in case of a monk, 227 precepts. And then practice meditation, samatha bhavana and vipassana bhavana. If anyone can do this, they can become enlightened. When they become enlightened, they'll see the same thing that the Buddha saw. They will see the 4 Noble Truths alive inside their mind. The 4 Noble Truths that you hear about right now is not the life one. It's the story of the 4 Noble Truths, the name of the 4 Noble Truths, not the life, the real Noble Truths. The life of the real Noble Truths will appear in your mind when you meditate, when you bring your mind back inside. Right now, your mind is not inside. Your mind go out to the body, to the sight, sound, smell, taste, and tactile objects. When you meditate, you are pulling your mind away from these things, bringing the mind back to the center of the mind, which we call appana samadhi. When we sit and meditate and concentrate on one object, and we can persevere and maintain this concentration, the mind will eventually or abruptly sometime return back to the center of the mind. When that happens, the mind will become peaceful and calm, and it will not do any thinking, have any thinking, and it does not aware of the body or the sight, sound, smell, taste, or tactile objects. See, first you have to bring the mind back inside, and then when you're inside, then you will be able to see the 4 Noble Truths, the dukkha, the suffering that happens in your mind, and the cause of suffering, or the 3 desires. And you will see the way to eliminate this desire by using the magga. The magga is to see that all things that the mind desires for does not bring happiness, but instead of bringing happiness, everything that the mind desires for will bring suffering or sadness. Why? Because that everything that the mind desires for and acquire is impermanent. You can have in your possession for a certain period of time. And sooner or later it will change or it will disappear. It will leave you or you will leave it. So the happiness that you have from the thing that you acquire will also disappear. And you will be back to where you started, having nothing, emptiness, empty feeling. Make you feel you want something else to fill this emptiness. So you create new desire. So this is the cycle that you will go through if you do what your desire tells you to do. So the Buddha said you have to stop this cycle by realizing that this is not the way to happiness, but it's the way to more suffering, more sadness, more loneliness, more desire. If your mind has achieved jhana, your mind will be strong and content. It can resist the desire because it can be happy without having to have anything or do anything. So you first need to bring the mind inside, bring it to jhana, bring it to appana samadhi. Once you have this, then you have the strength or the happiness, the mental happiness that you can rely on without having to rely on other things to make you happy. And when your desire comes up, you can tell your mind that whatever your desire wants you to do or to get, the happiness that you will get will be briefly. And it will leave you just like before you have the desire. So when you realize that this is the truth, then you can stop your desire. You can resist your desire. But if you have no jhana, you will have no strength. You will have no happiness to keep you happy. So when you feel that you need this or that thing to make you happy, you will go after it right away. And when you go after it, you will be happy briefly. Then after a while, that happiness will disappear. Then you would feel like you need something else to make you happy. So this is the magga that you have to use to resist your desire. This is something that will happen when you meditate. When you practice samatha bhavana, you will get jhana, you will get contentment, you will get mental happiness. And when you withdraw from that state, when your mind starts to have desire for this or that thing, then you have to use the three characteristics to teach your mind, to remind your mind that what the mind going after are the three characteristics: anicca, impermanent; dukkha, suffering; and anatta, something that you cannot control, something that you cannot keep forever, something that you cannot say, this is I, mine, all the time. Once you have this knowledge, you can stop your desire, and your mind can still be happy with the happiness that it had achieved from entering into jhana. So this is the Four Noble Truths, which we mean by enlightened. We are enlightened by seeing the Four Noble Truths, the truth that we have never seen before, even though it is in our mind all the time. The reason why we don't see it because we never look at it. We always look outside. we always go outside and go after the things that our desire asks us to do. So we never see our desire. We never see our suffering when the desire arises. And we never know the way to resist our desire, to eliminate our suffering. If you practice, this will happen. This is what we call seeing the Dhamma. The Buddha said, one who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. One who sees the Dhamma and sees the Buddha is the Sangha, is the noble disciple. This is the first step of enlightenment, which we call Sotapanna. When the mind investigates the nature of the body and fully see that the body is impermanent, the body is not a self. No one owns this body. The mind only takes possession of this body temporarily. Sooner or later, the body will say bye-bye to the mind, because this is the nature of the body. But when one has the desire for the body to last forever, one will create suffering, dukkha. But when one sees the truth that the body does not last forever, and let go of the body, then the suffering will disappear, because there is no more desire for the body to last forever. So this is what will happen when the mind truly let go of the body, and also let go of the painful feeling, the feeling that the mind doesn't like to have, but always have to experience. Every time the mind experiences a painful feeling, the mind have this desire to get rid of this painful feeling. When that desire arises, the mind creates suffering or dukkha in the mind, which is much stronger than the painful feeling of the body. But once the mind realizes that the main problem is not the painful feeling of the body, but the dukkha or suffering of the mind that is caused by the desire for the painful feeling of the body to disappear, then the mind stops this desire. When this desire is stopped, the suffering in the mind will disappear. Then the painful feeling of the body is tolerable. The mind can face this painful feeling of the body without any problem, because the mind has let go of the desire to get rid of this painful feeling. So this is what will happen when the mind have let go of the body, have let go of the painful feeling. The mind will become peaceful and calm. The mind has eliminated the first level of suffering. And then the mind will understand or see that the teaching of the Buddha is real, is effective. And then the mind will also see that the person who teaches this teaching must also be real, not something people create out of their imagination. There was actually a Buddha, and there was actually his teaching that can help eliminate all forms of mental suffering. And the person who realized this truth is the Arya Sangha, the first level of Arya Sangha, the Sotapanna. Once you see this truth, then you also will eliminate your doubt in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Your faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha will be unshakable, because you know that they are real. But before you reach this stage, you can be sometimes doubtful. whether the Buddha was real or not, whether his teaching was real or not, capable of eliminating all the sufferings from your mind or not, whether the Ariya Sankhya are real or not. These are things that you haven't yet proved for yourself. But when you develop samatha bhavana and vipassana bhavana, by contemplating on the nature of the body and the nature of the painful feeling, you will then realize the truth. You will come to see the Four Noble Truths alive in your mind, and you will eliminate the first two Noble Truths, the truth of suffering and the truth of the cause of the suffering, by using the Magga, the fourth truth. Magga is Sila, Samadhi, Panya, or Dana, Sila, Bhavana. So this is what you should do. The Buddha said, your job is to develop the Magga to its fullest. The Magga are like medicine. You have to take all the medicine that the physician prescribed to you if you want to get well. If you take all the medicines that the physician gave you to take, eventually your illness will disappear. So too will be all of your mental suffering. If you follow the Buddha's instruction, develop dana, sila, bhavana. Right now you are doing this, but you're not doing to the fullest. You're not giving everything away. You're not keeping the precept all the time. And you're not practicing bhavana all the time. You have to look at the noble disciple example. They followed the instruction of the Buddha to the fullest. They used to be lay person like you, lay people like you, but they gave up their lay life, and they became monks and bhikkhuni, being nuns, and then they can have the time, all the time to bhavana and keep the precepts. Once they have done that, sooner or later, they became enlightened. According to the Buddha, if you follow his teaching completely and work hard at it, you can become enlightened either 7 days or 7 weeks or 7 months or 7 years. So this is where what you have to do. You have to develop the Magga, the path that will lead you to enlightenment. And the path consists of dana, giving away your possession. Precepts, sila, maintaining the 5 precepts, then moving up to the 8 precepts, then to the bhikkhu and bhikkhuni precepts. And then you will have all the time to meditate, sitting, walking, standing, lying down. The first thing that you have to do in your meditation practice is to develop mindfulness. Because mindfulness is the prerequisite to achieving samadhi and panya. Without mindfulness, you will never be able to establish samadhi. Your mind will never enter into jhana. You'll never enter into appana samadhi. Without samadhi, you cannot contemplate the 3 characteristics and then see the 4 noble truths inside your mind. You need to have samadhi. You have to bring your mind inside. You have to be face to face with the Four Noble Truths. Right now, you have never entered into your mind. All your life, from the time you were born until now, all your life, your mind has always been directed outward, going to outward, to all the things that you can see, you can hear, you can feel and touch, you can smell, you can taste. But never once have you ever gone inside your mind, to the center of your mind. So you could never see the Four Noble Truths. So when you are suffering, you don't know that it's caused by your desire. Instead of eliminating your desire, you go follow your desire because you feel that your suffering is caused by not following your desire. Like when you want to have a cigarette, if you don't smoke, you will feel bad. When you smoke, you will feel good for a while. It's the same way with alcohol, drinking, or drugs, or any other thing, having sex, going to a movie, going to a party. All these things are all desire directed. And you don't know that in order to get rid of this feeling of unhappiness, it's not to follow your desire, but to resist your desire. But if you have no contentment, you have no jhana, you cannot resist this painful feeling that arises from your desire. So you have to first develop mindfulness, because mindfulness will then bring your mind into jhana. Mindfulness is to fix your mind on one object all the time, from the time you get up to the time you go to sleep, with a few exceptions. When you have to think something important, if you don't have to think anything important, you should not think. You should focus on one object. You can use a mantra like the name of the Buddha, or you can watch your body movement, your body activity. Don't let your mind go away from your body activity. When you have this constant mindfulness, when you sit in meditation, your mind can enter into jhana. When you enter into jhana, when you come out of jhana, when your mind starts to have desire, you will see the suffering arises. Then you will know that your suffering is caused by your desire. And all you have to do is resist and not follow your desire. When you do that, your suffering will disappear. Then from then onward, you will always look inside your mind, watch for your desire, because you know that your suffering or your feeling bad all arise from your desire. And if you constantly watch, you will then eliminate all the desire that comes up until there are no more desire left in your mind. Then you have achieved the final stage of enlightenment. You have reached Nibbana. Nibbana is the state of mind where there are no longer desire left in the mind. We call this purity of mind. The desire makes us impure, makes us sad, makes us unhappy. When we get rid of the desire, the mind will always remain blissful, happy. So this is what you have to do. The Buddha could not do for you. The noble disciple cannot do for you. They can only tell you what to do. But it's you who have to do it yourself. And you are having less time as you move on. Every day is passing away. Your life is like a lit candle. Once the candle is lit, it will slowly eat itself up. Eventually there will be no candle left. So too is your life. Your life is moving to the end. And there's nothing you can stop it from moving to the end. So you should take advantage of the time that you still have left and try to develop the Magga, the path to enlightenment. Because nothing else in this world can help you eliminate your mental suffering. It's only the path to the enlightenment that will be able to help you. And no one can develop this path but yourself. So it's up to you whether what you want to do with your life. You want to waste your life by doing what your desire tells you to do. Look at what happened. You've been doing this for the past how many years, from the time you were born until now. What have you got following your desire? Have you ever eliminated your suffering? Have you ever experienced any blissful feeling, any feeling of contentment? So you should be smart enough to know that what you've been doing was the wrong path, not the path that you should pursue. You should pursue the path that the Buddha and his noble disciple had pursued, because they have already told us that this is the path to the cessation of suffering. This is the path to the permanent happiness, to the supreme happiness called Paramang Sukhang. So I think I will stop this talk now, and so we can have the time to answer questions.
Okay, thank you for the Dhamma. Thank you for the Dhamma, Ajahn. So, can we ask question like, does this desire disappear because we are resisting it, or we have to use panya to eliminate this? Thank you, Ajahn.
When you resist your desire without knowing the reason why you resist, you will not be able to eliminate it entirely, completely, permanently. You have to see that your desire cannot bring you happiness, but bring you suffering. It's like when you like to have the desire to take drugs. You have to see that by taking drugs does not bring you true happiness, but it will bring you immense suffering. When you can see that, then you will stop. But if you just resist, you might resist it from time to time. But when your resistance becomes low, you might not be able to resist it again. So you have to see the cause and effect of your action following your desire. That it will only take you to more suffering, not to more happiness, not to contentment, but to more desire. And this desire will eventually kill you if you take drugs. And then it will take you to a new birth, to suffer more aging, sickness, and death. So you have to see the cause and effect of following your desire and not following your desire. It's like taking poison. If you know that what you take is poison, would you take it or not? Everything that we take, that we go after, they are like poison. But the problem is we don't see the suffering that ensues, that follows. We only see the happiness that follows. When we buy something we like, we are happy. But we don't see the suffering that follows when we run out of money and we want to buy more things and we cannot buy them. Okay?
Okay, Ajahn. Thank you for pushing us hard to practice. Because after listening to Ajahn Dhamma, the Saddha and Virya increase, but the motivation to practice and to see the urgency to practice is going up and down. So I can incorporate this motivation in my daily life or daily routine only a certain degree. So can Ajahn please give advice how to use a skillful means to remember this urgency and not to lose focus on our practice? Thank you, Ajahn.
You need to be around people who practice. You need to have a good environment. If you stay around people who practice, it will constantly remind you to practice. But if you live with people who don't practice and do other things, they can distract you from practicing. But if you cannot live in the company with people who practice, like living in the temple, then you must constantly think about your practice and constantly think about you getting sick, getting old, and die. This will spur you into action. But I think the best thing is to leave your present environment, because they are not supporting your practice. They are hindering your practice. That's what I say in my last talk. You have to use vimamsa, analytical thinking. You have to differentiate what support your practice, what push you forward, what pull you behind. What pull you behind, you should eliminate them or get away from them. What push you forward, you should be with them, have them around you. And the Buddha said that the environment that will push your practice forward is to live in seclusion, to be alone. Then no one will distract you from your practice. Only your own desire, only your kilesa. But that's only one part. If you live with other people, you live in a bad environment, then you have 5 other things to pull you away from your practice. The sight, sound, smell, taste, and tactile objects will keep pulling you away from your practice. So you need to go live in seclusion and live near a meditation master, a teacher who will constantly remind you, who will constantly energize you. Okay.
Okay, Ajahn, thank you. So on that, we have a question on the Vimamsa also. I'm able to note my breath when it gets refined, or when it becomes coarse, or when I start to get restless. Exercising Vimamsa both during and after my meditation sitting. However, my focus still increases and wanes. Am I doing it correctly? Could Ajahn please advise what to do next to develop Vimamsa correctly? Thank you, Ajahn.
When you meditate for calm, you should not analyze. You should not use your thought at all, because the goal is to stop your thought, stop from thinking. When you analyze, then your thought will keep thinking. When you're watching the breath, all you want to do is to know, to beware or to acknowledge, such as the breath is short or it is long, it's coarse or it is subtle. You don't want to analyze or having any thought about it. Just using your breath as your point of focus in order to prevent your mind from thinking about other things. Because if you think, even if thinking about your breathing will abstract your mind from entering into jhana. So you want to just to beware of your breathing and beware that you're not thinking about anything, even about your breath. This is the proper way. With vimamsa, you only do it after you withdraw from your samadhi. When you finish your sitting session, then you can analyze, how come today I sit and I don't get the result I wanted? Am I thinking too much? Do I have mindfulness? This is what you should do afterwards. when you are doing it, you should not think. It's like boxer when he goes into the ring, he doesn't analyze. He has to box and try to beat his opponent. But after he finished the boxing fight, and he can come and look at the tape and analyze what he did right and what he did wrong. So this is what Vimamsa is about. You should do it afterward.
Okay, Ajahn. Thank you, Ajahn. So the next question is, Ajahn mentioned last week that we cannot do mindfulness of mind before we have practiced mindfulness of the body. However, I find that I can watch my mind more clearly and easily than my body. If so, can I just be mindful of my mind? Thank you, Ajahn.
If you can be mindful of your mind, you should be able to enter into jhana right away. Can you do that yet?
I don't know the answer, Ajahn. I'll give feedback when the person gives me feedback. Thank you, Ajahn. Okay. So the next question is, I don't have much lust and attraction to the opposite sex. Do I have to practice Asubha? If so, how does Asubha meditation help in my practice? Thank you, Ajahn.
Well, you might have your attraction to the same sex. If you don't have the lust,
okay, thank you, Ajahn.
You might have the attraction to the same sex. Then you must use Asubha on that person that you have attraction for. If not the opposite sex, the same sex, then you have to use the Asubha on the same sex to see that it is not attractive. It is loathsome, undesirable, repulsive, in order to get rid of your lust permanently. Right now you say that you don't have any lust. That's because maybe you have been exposing and having acquired whatever you want. So you don't know whether you have lust or not. Try to take the 8th precept and stop having any sexual conduct and see what will happen, to see whether you still have any lust or not. Okay?
Okay, Ajahn. So next question is, how do I investigate the elements in meditation? Do I do it during or before meditation sitting? Is it necessary to do it? Thank you, Ajahn.
Investigate the element?
Yes, Ajahn. I think the 4 elements, water, fire, heat, and earth.
Okay. Contemplation or investigating the 4 elements is part of the vipassana practice. So it's not usually do before you have your samatha practice, because it will not be effective. You can, but it doesn't bring any good result. You have to do it after you have samatha. But it doesn't mean that you cannot. You can reflect and investigate on the 4 elements. If it suits your character, if you find it good for you, it makes you calm and peaceful, that's okay also. But the point is, the reason why we want to reflect on the 4 elements is to be able to see that the body is just the 4 elements. That there is no self, no you, me in this body. The body is made up of the 4 elements. And one day, sooner or later, it will return back to the 4 elements. You want to see this so that you can let go of your attachment, let go of your delusion, to think that the body is you. The body is just your puppet, or a toy, a living doll. It can breathe, that's all. The difference of the body from the toy that children play is that the toy children play cannot breathe. But the body can breathe, and it does things that the mind tells it to do. That's all. But it's the same thing as a doll. is made up of the material. The dough is made up of material, so is the body. The body is made up of the four material: water, air, or wind, earth, which is solid material, liquid material, and the air and the heat or the temperature, the fire. This will make the body perform form the body. But it will stay together for a certain length of time, and after a while it will start to disintegrate, separate. When that happens, the body stops functioning. The body dies. So this is what you want to reflect until you truly see it, that it's not yourself. You who contemplate is not the body. You are part of the mind, the one who knows. You are the thinker. Thinking makes you think that you are you. You think you are you, so you are you. You think the body is you, so you believe that. And when you believe that, then whatever happened to the body, you become worried and anxious because you don't want anything to happen to your body, because you think that whatever happens to the body is happening to you. But when you can see clearly after your contemplation that the body is just simply the four elements, then you can stop your anxiety, worry, and fear of losing your body.
Okay, Ajahn. So the next questions, with that, are there any sequence when to use the mantra, the breath, the elements, or the asubha objects? Thank you, Ajahn.
It's up to each individual practitioner to choose the right kind of meditation object for them, or mindfulness object. A person like mantra, he can use the mantra all day long, from the time he gets up to the time he goes to sleep, and during the time he sits in meditation. He can use the mantra all the time. The goal of using the mantra is to stop the mind from wandering, stop the mind from thinking. When the mind doesn't wander, doesn't think, it stay in the present, stay with the body, then you don't have to use the mantra. But as soon as it start to wander, start to think about this and that, going to the past or going to the future, then you should bring it back to the present. And when you have time, you should sit, because your mind cannot enter into jhana while the body is still moving. You need a still body to bring the mind to stillness, to bring it to jhana. So sitting is very important if you want to have samatha, if you want to have appana samadhi. You need to sit down, close your eyes, and focus only on the meditation object. Then your mind will eventually enter into jhana, become one with itself. It will separate from the body temporarily. All the things that come through your body will no longer be in your mind, such as sight, sound, smell, taste, and tactile objects. And the mind is peaceful and left alone. But it can only remain in that position not for long. The stronger your mindfulness is, and the more you sit, the longer will your mind remain in that state, in that position. But when you first started, it might just stay there briefly and then withdraw from that position. We call that kanika samadhi. Kanika is briefly. So appana samadhi is longer duration. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour. Or some cases, some yogi can do it for 7 days. This depends on the strength of their mindfulness. Okay.
Okay, Ajahn. So the next question is, could Ajahn please give advice on the basic instruction on Asubha meditation? Thank you, Ajahn.
Asubha meditation is to reflect on the repulsive aspect of the body. There are many aspects of the body that we don't see. We only see just the what you call the good-looking aspect. But we know inside our heart that the body has a lot of parts that we don't like to see, and we try to be blind to them. See? So this is what we want to do. We want to force the mind to look at the repulsive aspect of the body. Since it's being protected by the skin, then you would need the aid of medical journal text, like the study of anatomy text. Then they will show you all the parts under the skin, show you the skeleton, show you all the organs. And this is something that you want to keep in mind, constantly thinking about it, until you don't forget. Until eventually when you see a person, you see inside also. You just don't see the outside. When you see both the outside and the inside, then you can get rid of your desire for that person. But if you only see the outside part of the person, you can become deceived and have the desire, have lust for them. But when you can look inside by memorizing the picture that you see in the anatomy book, for instance, when you see that your lust can be stopped or eliminated. So this is what you need to do. If you cannot see right now, if you cannot imagine the picture, then you need to see some illustration in the anatomy book. Or if you want to something more than that, you might go to the hospital, to the medical school where they have dissection of the body, and you can ask to be an audience to watch the dissection of the body, so you can see what are under the skin. Or you can, in the old days, since they don't have this kind of illustration, monks were instructed to go into the cemetery, because during the Buddha's time, when people die, they don't cremate or bury. They just took the body and left them in the cemetery to let it decompose, be eaten up by dogs or worms or vultures. You should go, monks were instructed to go see this part of the body. See when the body died, after 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, see the changes in this body. Once they see this thing, then they can use these images that they have seen to constantly replay in their mind, to keep it constantly alive. So every time they have lust, they can use these images to squash the lust, the desire. You need to have samatha first, because the mind will resist if you have no samatha. If you have no calm, your desire, your defilement will create the bad feeling in you. Every time you look at something unattractive. Every time you look at the repulsive of the body, you will feel a sense of like throwing up. This is the working of your kilesa. But when you have jhana, your mind has suppressed this kilesa, so it will not create this bad feeling in you, and you can look at the object, the body, objectively. So you need samatha before you enter into vipassana, because if you don't, you'll find it very difficult to do, and you might even eventually hate doing it and don't want to do any more practice.
Okay, Ajahn. So the next question about Asubha is, we just repeat the 32 parts, and then until the feeling arises, or until certain parts of the 32 parts getting more focused or more prominent than other parts, and we focus on that parts.
You can do any way you want, but the goal is to be able to use it to stop your desire, your sexual desire.
Okay, Ajahn. So the next question is, I find that personal effort is important in maintaining the right effort in our practice. But sometimes the mind doesn't want to practice, and I have to overcome this by sheer determination. But this personal effort interferes with my practice because I'm putting more effort in the practice, and therefore I have more expectations. So how do I balance this effort, Ajahn?
I think people put their effort on the wrong thing. What they should put their effort in is on developing mindfulness, which is so simple and easy to do. And you can do it all the time, all day long. You're not doing that. So without mindfulness, you'll find doing everything else very difficult, very hard to do. So they should focus first on developing mindfulness. From the time they get up, they should develop mindfulness by either reciting a mantra or constantly watching the movement of the body. Whatever the body is doing, just keep watching, keep staying with the body. Don't let the mind wander to other things. This is so simple, and you can do it anytime, anywhere. But you don't want to do that. You want to sit and meditate right away, and you'll find it very hard to do. That's because you don't have mindfulness. So this is what you have to do, first of all, is develop mindfulness. The Buddha has said that mindfulness is the key to all the other Dhamma. If you have no mindfulness, you cannot have all the other Dhamma. Let me give you an illustration. When you want to drive a car, what do you have to do first? You have to get inside the car, right? If you have no key, can you open the lock door? You cannot. So you have to find the key. You have to have the key to open the lock door. Once you open the door, you can go inside and sit on the driver's seat. You can put the key in the whatever it is called, and then start the car and drive to wherever you want to go. See? But you have to get inside the car first. You have to have the key to get inside the car. Without that, you cannot drive the car to take it anywhere. So you need meditation. You need mindfulness first, in order for you to be able to sit and meditate and achieve result. And once you have jhana, you have appana samadhi, then you can develop insight or vipassana. Because the mind will not resist, the mind will not create obstacles to your development of vipassana. So these are the steps you have to do. You cannot overstep these steps. You have to go step by step. It's like before you can run, you have to learn to walk first. Before you can walk, you have to learn to stand first. These are basic things that we have to do. You cannot jump from crawling and start running. The same way, the practice become hard. You find it hard to exert your effort, put in your effort, because you're putting your effort on the wrong thing. You're putting on the effort on the hard thing that you cannot do. The effort that you can do all the time, you're not doing it, that's all. Just develop mindfulness first. Okay?
Okay, Ajahn. Thank you, Ajahn. So the next question is, after meditation for samatha, does the insight arise automatically?
No. Samatha only gives you peace, calm, and a sense of well-being, a sense of contentment. No insight whatsoever. You can only have insight when you point your mind toward an object that you have problem with. Like you have problem with your body. You have to point your mind toward the body and study the nature of the body until you clearly see the three characteristics inherent in the body. Then you will then be able to eliminate your desire, which is the cause of your suffering. Then this is what we call insight. Insight is to be able to see the three characteristics of the body and to see your desire as the cause of your suffering. So if you haven't seen the three characteristics of the body, then you must study, then you must investigate. Ask yourself, is the body permanent or not permanent? Does the body belong to you or not? Can you keep the body with you all the time or not? Does the body give you happiness or suffering? When the body gets sick, do you feel happy or you feel bad? When the body gets old, do you feel good or you feel bad? When your body dies, do you feel good or do you feel bad? You have to ask this. Then you ask, what makes you feel bad when the body dies? Because your desire, you want your body to last forever. You don't want your body to leave you. But is that possible or not? So this is what you have to contemplate, to investigate, to ask yourself, to think analytically. This is what we call vimamsa. When you find the cause, then when you find the cause, then you can eliminate that cause. Like a doctor, a physician, when a patient comes to see him or her and tell him that he is sick, he wants to get well, so the doctor will have to figure out what's the cause of this sickness. If he could not figure out the cause of this sickness, he cannot cure this disease. So he has to find out the cause first. Once he finds out the cause, then he must find the medicine that can get rid of this cause. If they cannot find the medicine, then they cannot cure this disease either. So this is the way the practice of Dhamma works. Insight happens after you analyze your problem. And your problem is because you don't see the three characteristics in the things that you are attached, in the things that make you feel unhappy, such as the body. But when you can see the body as the three characteristics in the body, then you can then know that you cannot cling to your body, because the body will not stay with you all the time. When you cling, when the body leaves you, you will become very sad, very unhappy. But when you let go, let the body go, accept the truth of the body, that it is impermanent, that it doesn't belong to you. When the body leaves you, you won't feel any suffering. Okay?
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, I understand that we are building our paramis while practicing, and this is something that we build life after life. Suppose I'm unable to attain the Sotapan in this very life, am I right to assume that I have to rely on my own parami to progress until I release from this samsara world. Can Ajahn please comment on this? Thank you, Ajahn.
Well, let me give you an example. When you're traveling to a place where you have never been before, you have two choices. You have a guide or you don't have a guide. If you have a guide, you can get there very easily and quickly. When you don't have a guide, you have to look for the way yourself. So it will take you a longer time. Such is the way. When there's no Buddhism in this world, then there's no guide to lead you to Nibbana. When there's Buddhism in this world, then all you have to do is follow the teaching of the Buddha. Then he can guide and take you to Nibbana quickly and easily. But when there's no teaching of the Buddha left in this world, then you have to rely on your own self. So that's what parami means. You have to build up this parami, and can take you many, many lives before you can become enlightened yourself.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, in certain tradition, they emphasize on teaching of Abhidhamma, but not in Thai tradition. Why is this so? And do we need to study Abhidhamma in order to progress in our meditation practice? Thank you, Ajahn.
Well, have I ever said anything about Abhidhamma here?
Never,
I only say
Ajahn.
mindfulness. I only say mindfulness. That's all you need. The more you know, the Dhamma you become. So try not to know too much. Just know enough what you need to do. That's all you need to know.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn. So our next question is, when I sit in meditation and when the mind starts to get calmed down, I feel at the tip of my nose always get this itchiness. Why is this happening, Ajahn?
That's because your mind hasn't yet become completely calm. So anything can happen to your body. What you should do is should not pay attention to it. You should continue focusing on your meditation object until your mind becomes completely calm and does not being affected by whatever is happening to the body. Okay.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, sometimes I can meditate for an hour, but sometimes it can be 45 minutes or even shorter. And I become very unhappy when my meditation session ends early. Should I get preoccupied and fixated over the duration of the meditation? Thank you, Ajahn.
You should accept the truth. Whatever the result you get, you should just accept that. That's all that you could do for that time. Because each time that you sit, you have many different factors that can determine how long you will sit. Sometime before you sit, if you have a lot of problems in your work or with your family or your friend, when you sit, you might find very difficult, very hard to become calm. Some day you have no problem with people or things. And also it depends on whether your mindfulness is strong or not strong on that time, on that day. If you have strong mindfulness, the result should be better than having weaker mindfulness. The same way with whether you have problem or no problem previous to your sitting. So these are the things that can influence the result. So you should not expect to have the same result, because the cause, they are not the same. And to get disappointed or to get mad at yourself doesn't do any good anywhere. Like I say, you should then use the vimamsa to figure out what was wrong, what was right, and then try to eliminate the wrong thing and try to develop the right thing. If you have problem with your work, stop working. If you have problem with your family, go live alone. See? If not, then you will be constantly be affected by these things. Understand?
Understand, Ajahn. So our next question is, I'm taught by one teacher to practice open awareness of whatever comes to mind. That means I just accept and note whatever arises to the mind, not thinking, not reflecting, not judging. Is this enough to gain enlightenment? Is there anything else I need to do to make my practice complete? Thank you, Ajahn.
If you can accept everything when it happens without having any reaction, you are enlightened. Can you accept when somebody beat your head up, beat you up? Can you accept when somebody took your wife away? Can you accept when somebody cheat on you, take your money away? If you can, then you can become enlightened.
Okay, Ajahn. So the next question is, there is an awareness that stands apart from all the sense consciousness. It doesn't move or change. From the time this becomes clear to me, I do not actively practice concentration as the three characteristics constantly display themselves in all the perceived phenomena. Kilesa can still squeeze in the heart when they arise, but they don't linger for long. Could you comment on this, Ajahn?
I'm sorry about the dog barking. Sometimes they have other dogs coming by, so they want to protect themselves. Any new dogs start to coming over to their territory, they want to chase them away. Or sometimes we have strangers walking by, so they will bark. I can't really understand the question that you just asked.
Okay.
Can you repeat or can you clarify?
Yes, Ajahn. So I just repeat the question. There's an awareness that stands apart from all this consciousness. It doesn't move or change. From the time it becomes clearer to me, then that I do not actively practice concentration as the three characteristics constantly display themselves in all perceived phenomena. Kilesa can still squeeze at the heart when they arise, but they don't linger for long. Could Ajahn please comment on this?
Well, you should eliminate all your kilesa, and nothing should affect your heart at all. Even death, even sickness, or whatever happened to you, people you love, you like, anything at all that happened, your mind should always remain peaceful and calm. That's what an enlightened person will react. He will remain calm at all times, regardless of whatever might happen.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, how do we eliminate sleepiness and pain during sitting meditation? Thank you, Ajahn.
Sleepiness could be eliminated by many different means. The simple one is to not sit, not lay down, just keep on walking. If you cannot eliminate this, even if you walk, then try to walk backward. Instead of walking forward, walk backward. If you still feel sleepy, maybe you can wash your face, put water on your head, and see if you can eliminate this sleepiness. If you could not, then maybe you should just go to sleep. And before you sleep, just remind yourself that as soon as you get up, you want to get up right away and continue with your practice. But there are some other methods as well, which is maybe it's harder, but it's more effective. The method of fasting can also help eliminates sleepiness. When you don't eat, your body is hungry, and this hungry will prevent you from getting sleepy. But in order to fast, you have to have a strong mindfulness to prevent your mind from thinking about food. Because if you cannot stop your mind from thinking about food, when you think about food, you will become very more hungry, and you will find that you cannot meditate or concentrate on anything but food. So for someone who wants to use fasting, they must have a strong mindfulness to be able to stop the mind from thinking about food. Or if they have vimamsa, which is panya, if they can think on the repulsive aspect of the food, look at the food that enter into the mouth, enter into the stomach, and exit on the bottom. If you look at the food like that, then you can also stop your hunger for food. So these are ways you can use when you fast. You either use mindfulness by constantly reciting on your mantra to prevent your mind from thinking about food. But if you cannot stop, you want to think about food, don't think about the food on the plate. Think of the food when it enters into your mouth, when you chew and mix it with your saliva. And if you want to see the real picture, try to spit it out and try to eat it again. See if you can do it. Or look at the food when you vomit out from your stomach. Or look at the food when you let it enter into the toilet bowl. These are all food with various stages of appearance. If you want to think about food, think about this kind of food. Then it will stop your mind from getting hungry. Okay?
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, at times I use mantra Bhutto to suppress the feeling of fear or guilt. Is this wrong, Ajahn? If yes, what is the right things to do?
If you can use it to stop your fear, it's okay, but it's only a temporary measure. Because the next time you meet fear, you will become fearful again, and you will have to use the mantra again. But if you want to completely get rid of your fear, then you have to look at the cause of your fear. Now, normally we are afraid because we don't want to die. We have this desire to have the body to live forever. But we know the truth that the body sooner or later will have to die. So if you want to become entirely without any fear, then you have to accept death. You have to let the body die. When you can do this, then you will no longer be fearful. You're ready to die anytime. So whatever happens to the body, you will not be afraid. This is the way to permanently fix the problem. You have to use vimamsa or panya or vipassana. You have to see the body is impermanent, subjected to sickness, aging, and death. Okay?
Okay, Ajahn. Thank you, Ajahn. So our next question is, how does the joy arising from dana or helping others can help to meditate better? Thank you, Ajahn.
The joy that arises will make your mind more peaceful and calm, and it will enable you to keep the precepts, which will make your mind more calm. You need a calm mind to meditate effectively. If your mind is still agitating for money, for things, you will find it difficult to sit and meditate, because your mind wants to have more money. Because the mind thinks that by having more money, it will become happier. But instead it becomes more agitated. But when you give dana, you give money away, it means you don't want any more money. You want to have less money. You want to have just enough money for maintaining your life. If you have that attitude, then your mind will not be agitated by your desire for money. And at the same time, when you help other people with your money, you have compassion and you have metta. You have metta karuna, which will make you don't want to hurt other people. Then you'll find that keeping the precept very easy. When you can keep the precept, then your mind will not be agitated by your breaking the precept. When you break the precept, your mind will become agitated, anxious, worry. When you break no precept, your mind will be full, peaceful and calm. So it will be easy for you to develop mindfulness and to meditate. They are the prerequisite to your bhavana. Sila is your prerequisite to your bhavana. Dana is the prerequisite to your sila. If you cannot give away your money, you want more money, you'll find it difficult to keep the precept because you want more money and you will do anything to get more money. If you have to cheat, you will cheat. You have to lie, you will lie. But when you don't have that desire for more money, you have the desire to help other people, then you'll find that keeping the precept is easy. Okay? How many more questions you have?
I think for the last session, everybody tried to ask questions, Ajahn. I have another 8 more. Is that alright with Ajahn?
It's alright with me. What about the people
who... they are all happy to listen to Ajahn.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so the next question is it okay to do dana with the intention to gain benefits or merits for myself than for the benefits of the recipient? Is it the correct way of thinking? And if it's not correct, how to reduce this intention to gain merits for myself? Thank you, Ajahn.
Giving dana is like eating food. When you eat food, what do you get? You get fullness in your stomach. It's the same way when you give to charity, you give a sense of fullness in your mind. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to expect it. It's the result of your dana. So you shouldn't expect anything from the person who received the help from you. You don't want anything from them. You want them to be happy. That's all you want. Because by making other people happy, it will make you happy. And that's all you want. You just want to be happy. This is the reason for giving dana. One of the reasons. Another reason is to get rid of your desire. Because if you have money, sometimes your desire want to spend it on yourself. Like to buy a new dress, buy a new pair of shoes, buy a new bag, or go on a holiday. But this kind of happiness is very brief and it can become addictive. You have to keep doing it again and again and never have any sense of fullness, like giving to charity. So this is the purpose of giving to charity, to get rid of your money so that your desire cannot use it.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn. So our next question is it possible for a free thinker or other religion to practice meditation to eliminate defilements and gain wisdom? How will Ajahn advise a free thinker to practice meditation? Thank you, Ajahn.
Other religions have ways of meditating also. Like when they sing hymn in the chapel, this is also a form of meditation. When you sing hymns, you stop thinking about things that makes you worry, makes you sad, or makes you unhappy. So this is a form of meditation. It's like repeating the mantra or chanting the sutta. It's the same thing. So every religion use some form of meditation to calm the mind. Some people could not go to sleep, so they count the sheep. This is another form of meditation. You just keep counting the sheep, 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, keep on counting. This will prevent you from thinking about things that makes you agitated and restless. When you don't think about those things, then your mind will eventually fall asleep. So I think there are different forms of meditation. And it's just that people don't call them meditation. Or maybe they are not as intense as in Buddhism. In Buddhism, we do very intensive meditation because we want the highest goal, and the highest goal can only appear by intense meditation. Okay.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, I understand that suffering is not getting what we want. However, I'm not craving for anything, yet I'm suffering. Family challenges keep coming to me regularly. How can I use my practice to overcome this suffering, Ajahn?
Because you don't want to face your family challenging, that's another form of desire. You have to accept that when you live with people, you have challenges, and you cannot avoid them. You have to face them, and face them calmly. That's all you have to do. But if you have the desire not to face them, this is the cause of your suffering, not the challenges, but your desire to avoid them. So you have to watch closely, ask your mind, what are you desiring right now? And get rid of this desire, not get rid of the things that cause you to have this desire.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, may I know how we know if our deceased parents or relatives receive the merits which we shared or dedicated to them? Any sign or feeling will rise to indicate? Appreciate Ajahn explanation. Thank you so much.
If they don't come into your dreams, or when you meditate they don't come to see you, then you won't know. You just have to assume that they do or they don't. Doesn't matter. As long as you do your part, that's all you have to do.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, how can we know that we have attained Sotapanna, Sagadagami, or to Arahant? How do we know that we have eradicated Sakaya Ditti? Is it important to know?
When you are sick and you get well, do you know the difference? It's the same way when you still have suffering with your body, suffering with the painful feeling of the body, then you haven't yet attained Sotapanna. But when you no longer are affected by the changes in the body, whether it's getting old, getting sick, or die, then you know that you have achieved the Sotapanna. Because you have let go of the body, you have used Panya to see that the body is just the 4 elements. There's no part of you in that body. So you no longer care what happens to the body.
Okay, Ajahn. So our next question is, I do not have good foundation of Dhamma, and I'm very new to Buddhism. Can Ajahn please advise and guide? How do I start right the walk in the Dhamma path? Thank you, Ajahn.
The first part to the Dhamma path is to study the Dhamma teaching. Like tonight, you are here to listen to the Dhamma talk and to listen to the discussion that we are doing. You are studying the Dhamma teaching. You have to do it until you fully understand what you have to do next. See? First, you have to study everything that you have to know about what you have to do. Once you know what you have to do, then you do it. That's the second level we call patibat, which means practice. The first level we call pariyat, which means study. First you study the Buddha teaching. After you have studied, you know what you have to do, then you do it. And after you have done it, then you will experience the result from your practice, which we call, I can't remember the Pali, attainment. Put it away. Let's put it that way. You will attain to various stages of attainment. So first you have to study the Buddha's teaching. It can be studied in many ways nowadays. You can listen to Dhamma talk, you can read the Sutta. Yes. You can read books by the Buddha or by the noble disciples. Once you know what you have to do, then you do it. Like you know you have to give to charity, you know you have to keep the precept, you know how you have to develop mindfulness in order to be successful in your meditation. So you have to do it. Once you do it, then the result will appear. Okay, how many more questions?
The last two, Ajahn. So if we wish, but this one got two parts. If we wish to practice full time, can we go and practice without ordaining as a monk or nun? The second part will be, is there any age limit to be ordained as a monk?
Normally people, when they want to practice full time, they usually start as a layperson first. And after they have practiced and they have achieved some result, and they know that this is the path that they want to lead, then they will go look for a meditation temple or monastery. Because there are many different kinds of monastery in Thailand. There are monasteries that doesn't do any meditation. There are monasteries that do meditation. So you have to find the right monastery for you, and then ask permission from there. But if you could, after your ordination, stay with him and practice with him. Yes, when you first start, I think you should do as a lay person first, because it's easy. It doesn't take much time. To ordain, it takes a lot of time. You have to learn the chant, then you have to learn all the precepts. You have to learn how to behave, how to live like a monk. So this should come later on. First of all, you should develop a certain amount of ability to practice. Because if you cannot practice and when you become a monk, you'll find that you can become restless and agitated. And you might not be able to remain in robe for long. So first you must be sure that you can meditate, you can practice, and you can live as a monk. Because there are many restraints as a monk. There are 227 precepts they have to maintain. And you cannot go here and there as you like to. You have to be locked up in the monastery. So you have to think of this challenge first and ask yourself whether you can do it or not by going to stay in the monastery as a lay person first. Maybe you stay for 7 days, stay for 2 weeks, stay for 1 month. We have some lay people who come and stay in this monastery for maybe 6 months before they ask for ordination. Okay, second part.
So Ajahn, so the next question is, what is the age limit to be ordained, the youngest or the eldest?
To be ordained as a monk, a bhikkhu, you need to be 20-year-old. But to be ordained as a samanera, as a novice, I think you have to be at least 6 years or more, and you need to have the guidance of a teacher monk to look after.
Okay, Ajahn. So the last question will be, I would like to know, as I'm meditating now, how do I get advice from Pa Ajahn after this session if I run into problem with my meditation? Thank you, Ajahn.
You can go back and listen to all my talks. I can read my books. I cannot personally entertain all of your questions because I don't have the time. I'm sorry, but there's nothing else I can do.
Okay, Ajahn. So that will be our last question for today. Apologize for the extended time. Sorry. You want to do? Sebastian is here today, and he would like to say something to Ajahn. Sadhu.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Kap. I thought on behalf of the people here, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to teach all of us here and giving us the precious Dhamma. On the other hand, I think we should also call Kamma withท่านอาจารย์ครับ before we finish the session. If you all could please kneel. What we like to try and do is ask for forgiveness from Phra Ajahn for any thought, word or deed that we may have done which may not have been appropriate. So let's hold our hands together in Anjali and please recite after me. Acharye Pamadena Dwaratayena Katang Sabang Aparadang Kamatu Nobante
Tomehi kamit
Amama Bante
Abhijato Nijjang Buddha Pajayino Chattaro Dhamma Vatanti Ayummano Sukhang Phala.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. So,
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think we have taken enough of Phra Ajah's time, and after this, perhaps we'll make arrangements to request Phra Ajahn again for another series of talks, if you can.
I might have to ask for a different kind of format.
Okay,ครับ. We will.
I think for me to give talks, it requires a lot of effort on my part. But for me to answer questions, it will be a lot easier for me. So we might have just question and answer question session instead of monologue, like a Dhamma talk. Would that be all right with you?
That'll be fine.
Yes, Ajahn.
Okay.
Thank you, Ajahn.
All right. We have to say goodbye for now.
Sorry, Ajahn. Can we invite the Sangha to pay respect to Ajahn first?
Please go ahead.
Can we pay respect to Ajahn also? Yeah, thank you, Ajahn.
May all of you be ever closer to the Dhamma goal. Until the next time. Good night.
Good night, Ajahn. Thank you so much, Ajahn. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.